Hi, everybody. I am so excited today because this is our Body Love broadcast that is actually inspired by Dr. Lauryn Lax, who I'm very excited and honored to have on to the show. She is we're going over the topic of creating a body that you love from the inside out. And she is a very, very powerful woman. She helps so many women. She is a medical doctor that is an occupational therapist, as well as a nutritionist, and is a practitioner of functional medicine. And she really helps women boost their energy, like heal their gut health, and to create a body that they love from the inside out. And literally, I had a download after we've been talking for a while, a couple of months. We've known each other through the Society of We, and we've been talking, and you were sharing your story with me, and everything that you were saying is so in alignment with some of the stuff that I've actually personally gone through, and other women that I've spoken to that have struggled with, body dysmorphia, body of shame, food problems and food addictions and all the things. And so after this last talk that we had, I had this download. It's like, hey, we need to start talking about this, because you were telling me about your up and coming event that I want you to highlight at the end of the show and tell the ladies a little bit more about what you're doing. And I just was inspired by you and your story and all the things that you're doing, and just really getting the word out to support us, because I really feel that the trouble is the isolation factor, because when you're in it, you feel like you're alone. So thank you so much for being here, and tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks so much, Deb, for having me on. And equally, I feel the same about you and your story. And I always have come to learn and find out that our greatest setbacks are our biggest comebacks. And this rock star woman that is leading this movement is a testimony to that. And I'm just really excited to link arms with you in that, and to also give a shout out to all the viewers and listeners of this, that your greatest setback is going to be your greatest comeback. And honestly wasn't until I really grasped that and started to believe that freedom from the chains of food and body image struggles that I had struggled with for over 15 years really began to fall away. And that you do have the ruby red slippers as well in order to go home always. Those Wizard of Oz ruby red slippers. So yeah, a little bit of background though about how I got into this work that I'm doing to help women heal their gut, love their body, boost their energy. It really stems from my own journey, as experience is the best teacher. And I had struggled with chronic eating disorders from the time 10 years old is really when it began, but I say the roots began probably much earlier than that, and grew up in a home that was just very much, or in a culture rather, very body image focused. And at age 10 though, I remember standing in recess and the topic of weight coming up with all the popular girls at recess that day. One of the girls speaks up and says, "Hey guys, oh my gosh, I weighed myself last night. I'm 69 pounds. I'm so fat." And then turning to each one of us, and just one by one, all us little lemmings had to go around and report what we weighed to the queen bee. And that's the moment that I really remember, game, set, match, that I'm not good enough feeling and that I'm not good enough thought came up. And that day, going home from recess or from school rather, standing in the pantry and turning over a Doritos snack bag and learning a new language that I had never known before, fat, grams, and calories. And little did I know that at age 10, my life path just took a sharp turn. And kind of from there, the slow escalation of obsession over calories and fat and just food and body and exercise began to take root, as I came up with this innocent goal of, I just want to lose 10 pounds. And I think a lot of times that's how a lot of image and food struggles began, as an innocent goal, or I want to feel good in my own skin. And so, but long before I knew it, or shortly before I knew it, that voice became its own life of its own. And really, the next 15 years of my life would be spent on this roller coaster of ups and downs, really trying every diet under the sun, you name it, I've done it, and putting my body just through the ringer, and my mind being so much stronger at times than my body even. I remember running on treadmills, for instance, and like my heart just literally pain shooting in my chest and grasping my chest because I wanted to get my workout in, or just going to bed at night and my stomach rumbling and feeling like really lightheaded or I was going to pass out, but I had a strict calorie limit I could only stay under for the day. And I mean, you name the food rule as well, whether it was meal timing, not eating after a certain time, or doing the intermittent fasting or fasting thing. I really say I'm a trendsetter in those diets that are really popular now. And really just disconnecting from my body again, and all in the pursuit of what to be good enough. And that's something that I think is the most common theme that I hear in the clients that I work with now, is just what would feeling good in your own skin be? And they just say they want to feel good and feel good enough. And that's really unique for every individual, I believe, too, is like, what is that enough, or that feeling good to you? And sometimes that's also influenced by the external, what we've put in our mind is like our ideal. And I think everyone can relate to having a that girl, or maybe multiple that girls in their lives. And that can have changed too, whether it was like the Twiggy days where we wanted to be, or Jennifer Aniston days. That was one of my idols. Kelly Kapowski from Saved by the Bell, DJ Tanner, the Olsen twins, to like the Kim Kardashians of today, where we see like a more maybe voluptuous body, but still this just like ideal that we put into our minds. Or maybe it's just a girl that you see on a fitness magazine. I wanted to be a fitness model at one time, or just having it all together. And not just the external either. It is the likes, or the being good enough in multiple areas, and whether you're in school and it's making the best grades, or getting the best job, or having the Instagrammable perfect family. Like, I think there's just always going to be these dangling carrots that we continue to chase until we realize that girl is actually inside of you. And I think that girl we look to actually has that girl she wants to be too, until she recognizes that girl is inside of her. And so that journey of mine within the eating disorder realm and the body image pursuits, really from age 10 till 23, 24 is really when I had a come to Jesus moment. And I remember stepping on the scale one morning. I was in grad school at the time, Nashville, Tennessee. And every morning woke up at 4 a.m. to go to my first workout of 3 of the day. And I was working out 6 to 8 hours a day. School was getting in the way of my job of working out. But I remember waking up that morning, stepping on the scale, and seeing a number I had not seen since I was that 10-year-old girl. So it was just like a whole flashback of really the 15 years coming to a head. And, you know, granted, I was 15 years later. I was in, or should have been in, an adult body, but I was back in that 10-year-old body. And that was a big wake up call of like, oh my gosh, like, this is not okay. I'm really actually not healthy. I hadn't seen that level of poor health ever to date until that day. And at that time was not even pursuing numbers and weight loss. Like, really, my eating disorder and the food and body struggles were about so much more. There was something deeper, and it was that level of achievement that those workouts gave me, or that level of like, again, chasing that good enough constantly. And maybe I could meet it one day, but then the next day I had to keep up. I had to do the 6 hours more of workouts the next day, or I had to eat the same amount or less the next day. So it wasn't even about the weight loss or the body on the outside. It was like the achievement and the feeling of control. Mm-hmm. But remember getting in my car and on my way to the gym, just praying like, God, help me make a change. And I really did pray that out loud. And I actually had been, I was going to go to my other gym on the other side of town, but something in me, like, I literally turned my car around IMCA, and something pulled me there. And when I got to that parking lot, I got out of the car, started to collect my Oxygen Fitness magazines. I had like stacks of them I would read on my Stairmaster for the hours that I spent on there, and just reread them. But as I was collecting my things, I heard a voice come up from behind me and they say, "Good morning, Lauren." And I turn around and it's not just one voice, but it's eight total individuals that come up, and they were 8 other gym goers I had seen every day for the past year in that YMCA, just about my parents' age. It's like people in their 40s and 50s that work out at that time before work, and just acquaintances. Really, they didn't know much about me. They didn't know my whole backstory. But they really stepped in and they spoke up. And one of them stepped forward and said, "Lauren, you've really been on our hearts." And we all came together yesterday and just said, like, "If something seems not right, are you okay?" And I said, "Yes, I'm okay." Gripped my keys and my magazines, like, kind of go away. And another one said, like, "We've been watching you and we're worried about you over the past year. It just seems like you've been declining in your health and we don't really know what's going on, but we want to help." And I just remember again, like, gripping my keys and my magazines, like, "I'm okay." And another one said, "We have called Vanderbilt Hospital down the street and they said that we could bring you in just to get you checked out. Like, we just want to make sure you're okay." Again, nothing imminent has happened. I haven't fainted. I haven't had a bullet wound or anything like that. But when I hear that word hospital, I know exactly what that means. In my head, it's like I've been in hospitals and treatment centers like my whole past 15 years. They're going to know what to do with me when I get there. But these individuals, just again, like, they don't know where to take me. They just want to help me out. And something in me, though, just like surrendered in that moment and just was like, "Oh my gosh, maybe this is exactly what I was praying for." As I said, like, God helped me make a change. And to me, a change meant help me work out 30 minutes less on my Stairmaster today, or help me eat a tablespoon of almond butter more. And those were hard changes still. And that was going to be like what maybe sent me over into recovery edge. No. And it was exactly what I needed. And so there was actually one more I call them my YMCA angels now. He was at the bottom of the hill protecting like the entrance and exit. So I couldn't. But I did, and get into the car with them, and they drove me there to Vanderbilt. And I mean, within hours, I was in the ICU with a heart rate in the almost 20s, and doctors talking about putting a pacemaker in. And I honestly don't think, and actually no, would not be here today to be able to even share that story had they not stepped in and spoke up. And it really was it was meant to be at that time. But I am so thankful, even though it wasn't rainbows and butterflies, even within hours. And I spent the next 4 weeks there in Nashville in a hospital on heart monitors and with feeding tube in my nose, and just feeling super uncomfortable. And again, had been in hospitals before, but it's just like all those years of poor nutrition and poor just self-care really had caught up and took a toll on my body. And after 4 weeks, I had one choice, or two choices rather. I could either stay another 6 to 8 weeks on feeding tubes in the hospital, or I could go to treatment. And I wanted out of there. And so I decided to go back to treatment, and it was really not my first choice. But my heart and my mind had really changed by that time. And I said, no matter what, no matter if this treatment center is exactly like every other treatment center I've been to, and no matter if they make me eat Pop-Tarts and ding dongs or whatever, that when I get out, life is going to be different on the other side. And so I ended up spending 12 months in Miami, Florida, and it was the longest I'd ever spent in treatment. And I don't think the treatment itself was the magical answer. It really was this decision that I had made in my heart, and just really the provision that my faith in the Lord had really given me too in my recovery, of just knowing like I was made for more. And it's something that I believe that is so true for every client I work with today, and every woman that's even listening that's not a client, is that you were made for more and you have a bigger purpose. And that the eating disorder or struggles with food in your body really distract that, or just trying to thwart you from really living on purpose and mission. And that's really what I've loved this community in general, in Austin even, very purpose driven and passion driven women, just in the land of entrepreneurship, which I have my own business now, that is very mission driven around really this whole backstory and this struggle that was really the training games. It's like I didn't need to go get my MBA, or I almost even went to med school, but just decided not to because it was actually going to detract from doing the work that I could do now. And a lot of the lessons, if you're not familiar with functional medicine, it's really about looking to the root cause of disease rather than addressing symptoms. And for so long in my own health journey, I had been tossed from doctor to expert to clinician that like totally knew how to diagnose me. They totally knew what to do by the textbook, and how to treat my symptoms. And many of them just doing what the best they knew how to do. But I don't believe that Pop-Tarts, Prozac, and pizza were the answers to my recovery. And I do believe that, like, as I've even been healing in my post-recovery, which I say what happens to your body after years of self-abuse of the eating disorder, it's just my mind has been blown in how functional medicine has been able to help me heal from the inside out. And it is a profession that a lot of allied health providers are using, a paradigm rather, to again look to the root cause of illness, ailment, disease, or just health conditions, and help people really thrive and optimize their body and their mind from the inside out. And so, I mean, a lot of my work now is about just this heart and head connection, helping women really connect with what their bigger purpose is, and then what the role that food and fitness or the focus on the body is serving for them, because usually there's like some need that those things are meeting, or we're trying to meet through those. When we figure out what that need is, whether it's for worth or for achievement or control, and start to like really understand why those things are in place or trying to fill that void, and then begin to replace those things with things that are actually more life-giving to us, like finding your purpose and your passions and doing those instead, the eating disorder and those chains really start to fall to the wayside. They don't have a place and a space anymore. So that's a lot of the heart and the head, the root digging. And then physiologically, really, I help women feel good in their own skin and not just feel like they have to just settle for like subpar. And I think just symptomatically, like even post-eating disorder, I was told bloating and constipation were normal, that IBS was normal, that even getting autoimmune conditions that like were genetic, or having a thyroid condition that was genetic was like normal, but they don't have to be. The only reason why genetics really flare, that they make up less than 10% of our health, about 5%. The rest is our lifestyle, nutrition, and then I say gut health related factors, and your gut is the gateway to health. And that was probably the biggest eye-opening lessons in my post-recovery, and just in my clinical journey, that have really helped me help women to optimize their body and to get a body they love and that they actually feel good in, and they don't have to just again settle for just like even like PMS symptoms, or like just that time of the month, or the anxiety they've always had. They don't have to just manage their symptoms with medications or just like willpower. And so yeah, that's a little bit, I guess, up to speed with where I am today. And just within my business, I work both one-on-one with people and groups. I do so believe there's strength in numbers, and that was a huge part of my healing journey as well, as bringing in community. I don't know if you're familiar with the blue zones. It's the 5 cities in the world where people live the longest, they're the healthiest, and have the best quality of life. Yeah. And the number one factor of why is because they live in community. They have really strong relationships and connections. And so despite the occasional cigars that they have, or the wine they have,
the chocolate,
the chocolate, or just like whatever have you with their diet, it's really the strength in numbers. And then they also have a very strong grasp on their purpose and their passion, like living out their gifts. And so that's really how I try to help clients optimize their lifestyles. And I love that community and group aspect from that perspective. And a movement that I'm growing right now is one for women in recovery from disordered eating or from body image negativity, and to bring a more holistic focus to the recovery. Just again, because I was in and out of treatment centers. I've been around like the world, I feel like, in them, and just to see that I think there can be so much more for women outside of just those four walls, or even just the way that conventional medicine's treating disordered eating and helping women recover. And, like, I think it's 3 in 4 women will struggle with some sort of disordered eating. And less, I think 20% of people like seek treatment. And so, like, the options and the opportunities for women to even get support are just really not there. Maybe there's like one-on-one therapists and counselors that can be helpful. But like, it's just not an issue people are really talking about or feeling supported. And I think it's just, again, become a norm for women to just have like these body image and food struggles, or that women think about food as much as men think about sex. There's that statistic as well. In college, especially, eating disorders are super rampant, and yet I think no one's talking about it. It's like 1 in 4 women in college will get an eating disorder. And looking back in college, I see it. And now working with a lot of women that are in college or post-college, like, just them even realizing, oh man, that actually wasn't like healthy or normal how I was like treating my body, but it was very normal to them because it was just how they were living their life. And
Well, it's expected too, because I mean, I hear the meme that goes around like, oh, you gain all this weight in college, and then it's probably the counteraction to that belief system.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and
like
it is. And there's, I mean, pretty much every other woman I speak to talks in like in the language that I talk to her and when hearing, because I listen to the language, that's what we do. And I hear the self-talk or the cutting down or the comparison coming out. And it's not, and most people are unaware of it. It's just the norm that we've become accustomed to of just not liking the way that we look. And I think it even starts, just like you said, 10 years old for you. I remember my first encounter with having body shame was around 10 years old as well. And I was binge eating because my way of handling my emotions, I didn't have emotional intelligence. And so I would eat sweets and stuff. And my
Right.
parents tried to keep sweets out of the house, but I would go over to a friend's house and then like purge or like binge on it and then like come back to the house and hide it. And then becoming aware of it, like I started dieting at a very young age. And for me, like you said, it was all around control. For me, I never felt good enough. And so looking a certain way was a way for me to find love, external love, attention. And then it morphed into this out of control obsession because of my lack of self-worth. And I believed that I wasn't intelligent and smart. And so for me, objectifying my body, I chose to. So it was the only thing I had that I believed had any sort of value for so many years. And it was survival.
Right. It does.
And it was nuts. And I get what you're saying. Like, and this is a pattern that I heard from Christy, we were talking the last episode. It's really about finding your purpose and your why, because once you find something that's bigger than you, that's greater than you, that other stuff falls out. And I remember not knowing exactly what that was in the beginning when I first started coaching. And I remember in Fresno, when we were living in Fresno, and I still had a ton of body shame and carried over after like the training and stuff like that. Cause I didn't necessarily work on that because it wasn't something that I was really conscious of. But I remember beating myself up about like gaining weight, and I wasn't dancing anymore. So I wasn't getting the exercise. And so it was like going to yoga 4 times a day and then working out, and I would lose weight and then I would gain it again. And I'm like, babe, you're not going to love me if I get fat. He's like, shut up. I love you for the way you are. And I'm like, no, I can't. But I didn't really understand it. And so unconsciously, I believe my soul was telling me, like every time that I would find myself it's kind of narcissistic behaviors, like, cutting yourself down because you're thinking about yourself all the time. I would find myself then going and reaching out and doing acts of service. And that was a huge transition for me because I realized every time that I felt bad about myself, the best way to pull myself out of it was to go and be with other people and help and serve others. Immediately, I got out of my head.
100%. I found the same thing. Yeah, like the pay it forward as and by helping others. It's like the auction mass theory too. Like in order to like auction mass first, obviously self-care, but it's like that connection with others really does uplift you too.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. Like what you're doing, and I'm so happy the work that you're doing, because it's going to change the way that women show up. Because I believe as women coming into this new era of how we show up in business and life, and just as women in general, we were talking about it in one of our Inner Beauty Collective circle. It's the Women 5.0, and how she is and how she shows up and how she loves herself, how she thinks about herself, how she communicates, what is her relationship internally and externally, and I really believe that this is one of the big parts of us as women showing up wholeheartedly and owning our power and truly loving ourselves from the inside out. Because it's like a paradox. Like, having external beauty is a gift, and if that's all you believe that you are, and if you obsess only of the body, then it limits you tremendously. But at the same time, you want to celebrate it. I don't know if I'm like making myself clear. Like, I had to download it and then it disappeared out of my head.
I mean, that it's not, I think it's not bad to want to feel good and look good in your own skin.
Yeah.
But that accentuates and comes out more when you focus from the inside out too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so you were in and out of treatment. So let's talk about that again. So like what made the one time where you had, all of those angels come into your life? What was the difference between the time that were you put in the treatment center before? Because I would like to talk about that, like the recovery rate of people that or put into recovery without actually wanting to be there. Because I think it's kind of interesting. It's kind of like drug addiction, in my opinion.
No, I have seen in practice and then in my own experience that until you want it for yourself, like it doesn't change. And it's just, from the time I was, I guess, really 10 was the first year I went into a hospital, and then started inpatient treatment centers where you get shipped off. Like, I remember my parents checking me out of school and saying, like, we're getting on a plane. And it was just like, Lauryn, come to the office. And like my bags were packed, and then they took me to Arizona, and it was the hardest thing for them to do. I was 12 at that time, and just remember feeling like a little puppy dropped off, and like I'd never been away from home for more than maybe a week at summer camp. And then being told like I can't talk to my parents, and except for once a week on the phone, and that I couldn't talk to them if I didn't eat all my meals too. And it just felt very isolating in the treatment process. And most centers, people will stay at least 60 to 90 days. And so that was kind of the trajectory for, it seemed like every 2 years or so I would go into treatment, just because my health would get to a place where the doctors and therapists are like, she's not even benefiting from anything outside, or like I'm putting weights in my like pockets when I'm going in for my weight checks, and then there's 1 week I forget to do it, or I can't water load enough, so like I'm like 5 pounds down than I should be. And I was constantly manipulating the system anyways, and just trying to like hold on to my control and my autonomy and my body. Like I felt like really these people are just trying to like take me away from my goal of wanting to feel good, and
they don't understand.
And so that's really what the eating disorder and recovery realm became, more of like a fight for like me to just feel good, and feeling like all these people in my life were just speaking like into me the opposite, and like they wanted my health, but like I just didn't have any like sense of like what that meant to me. Recovery for many years meant like I'm going to be pleasantly plump, and like I need to be happy and like deal with it. Kind of like when you see those like Operation Beautiful, like to tell myself I'm beautiful, but I really don't believe it.
Yeah.
It just sounded and felt like rah pep talk going through recovery and saying I even wanted recovery. And so most treatment centers like were very much like, I felt like a cattle, like being herded to the table 6 times a day to eat my meal. And like I felt like pretty silenced and siloed, and like being watched by these nurses that would say like lick the plate, and like, man, just trying to manipulate the system still. Like I would hide like English muffins in my sleeves, and like so I didn't have to eat the 3 English muffins on my plate, and just feeling like just not a prisoner in my own skin, really, is what it felt like. It's like my body would be changing and morphing before my eyes in treatment, and to like run away from that. Like, so that would start the cycle of backsliding again, or backsliding on the outside. To me, it was just like, again, control and feeling like trying to feel good. And that last treatment, what made that different? It just really was like, man, I know it's going to be a school of hard knocks going through this. And like, I went in and said, I'm only going to be here for the minimum stay. It was 6 weeks there, the minimum stay. And by that 6-week mark, it was so interesting. The day I was going to check out, I actually got started getting heart pains and feeling like I was having a heart attack. And just like, it was like, I've already been in treatment for 6 weeks. What is this? And like, honestly, like every day in treatment, it was like, the Lord was like wringing me out of like all the disordered eating behaviors and thoughts and just like things I'd been holding on to so deep. And like, it was just like a nudge, like a God wink of just saying like, you are not done yet. Like, because if I was to have gotten out at 6 weeks, I would have gone back through my same old struggles. Like, and so I think it was like the time was helpful, like kind of getting away from the eating disorder and kind of being able to see with clear eyes of like the craziness of the disorder. But even when I got out, it's not like I felt amazing in my own skin. Like I remember having acne and like all this bloating and constipation and hormone imbalances. And again, being told they were normal, enter functional medicine to help.
Yeah.
But it was, my mind had changed and said like, I'm going to find another path. And that's really where another path of being able to see like, food is not a toxic substance. It doesn't have to be. It can be something that is life-giving and nourishing, and I can feel good in my own skin. My recovery story doesn't have to be what it has seemed and felt like every time I've gotten out. And that's where like finding functional medicine really helped. And then also community outside of treatment and eating disorder world, and then purpose, and even a new relationship with fitness and food in and of itself. And so I was a gym rat and loved going to like, you know, a Gold's Gym style gym and just like doing my Stairmaster, my cardio routine, and my like mini weight routines. But I ended up finding CrossFit at the time, and it was super helpful just because there were no mirrors, for one. That's one thing I remember about it, is just it was about becoming stronger from the inside out. I really liked that, and I loved the community aspect. So I really love helping women find like what moves them. If fitness has been something that's been a struggle or something that's felt like just at unrest with it, that to find a new relationship for fitness itself. And then with food as well, like learning what real food was and learning about a lot of debunking some of the nutrition myths that I had believed. Interestingly, in treatment, they don't really teach much nutrition education. It was
That's
more
strange to me.
It is.
That was my next question, is like, do you know of any recovery centers that's holistic, where it talks about the spiritual piece, the mental, emotional piece, and also like the physical nutrition, and then reprogramming the patterns around, you know, like working out, and like, cause there's it's a holistic, the reason why somebody has a eating disorder, it's like, there's so many different pieces of the puzzle. It's not just putting you into a place and locking you in there and forcing you to eat. To me, that just sounds crazy. Is there any place you can go? Huh?
Like, and like talking about the eating disorder too happening. So it's like you feel like you're eating and then just talking and talking and talking about the eating disorder versus
like you're going to create more of the eating disorder, because neurologically you're reliving the trauma over and over again. It just,
you know this so well. But as far as places that exist, like, I mean, the one I'm creating, and that is part of my big is to have that holistic treatment model. And I don't even call it treatment, like a wellness model, where you can imagine people go to like wellness centers in like California to go retreat and like rejuvenate. And that's what I really would love the recovery experience to embody, that it's about like a lifestyle makeover and an opportunity versus like prison cell, or like that I'm losing this thing. Like you're actually like shedding the layers, and so you can thrive. And so that's really the paradigm I want to recreate within recovery. As far as current centers that exist, there's not a ton. Like, it's so interesting. I actually need to write a blog on this and like, or do just more talk about this, because I've had several clients that have reached out or interested and just wanting to know what, if I need more support, where can I go? And it's really hard because there's not a lot of places I'm aware of One I really respect is called Montanito, and it's in California. Based, they went through her own eating disorder, and I think that just really makes the center just what it is. There's more heart in there because she's lived it and gets it. And there's another place called Alasana, I think is how you say it. That's kind of seemingly on the outside a little bit more holistic focus. I haven't really had much experience with them to date, but there is a lot of like the feeling of like old school model still out there, and meaning like when I think old school model, I felt like a prisoner. It's not
like
prison.
a
They're
prison.
trying to keep
Forcing people to eat Twinkies and Twinkies and Pop-Tarts, that is my definition of prison, because that's like my unconscious mind, the intelligence of my body is like, are you kidding me? I don't want that food in me. Like, give me like raw, organic, like nutrition dense food. Yeah. And the word recovery too. It's same thing. I talk about this in the drug addiction community because I know that well. And I went to a treatment center when I was 17. And it's just the whole thing where you have to stand up and identifying yourself of having this dis-ease. It's like, it creates an identity, and it's neurologically setting and priming your body to create more of that. And so like the word recovery in itself, I love the fact that you're saying it's more like a wellness and a rebranding. It's like a reinventing, because if you keep talking about the old story, of course you need to talk about it to get it out, to get the learnings from it, and then, reprogram a new pattern behavior. Then like, let's talk about the new life that you want, the fulfilling passion that you want, the joy that you want to bring to others, and what your true calling is on this planet. That is the recreation in itself. Yeah. And I would love to see a treatment center. So hopefully, is that what you're creating? Like, is that your vision?
Yeah, that is the biggest vision. And so like with my program right now, that's like the bridge right now. So that being able to offer it virtually to reach more women and have more women participate and just feel supported and get a lot of these like lessons that about finding your purpose, for instance, and helping women also understand like food and fitness, like talk about those nitty gritty things that aren't talked about in treatment as well.
And how that can become an addiction in itself. Like the fitness thing, I played that game for a long time where I would overeat and then I would overexercise. And then my fitness became this addiction because it was the only place that I could do to deal with the emotions that normally I would be stuffing with food. And so it was like this monster that kept just going,
neurologically rewire things. And that's where I think the beauty of like the physiological component also can come into play, because when we actually change our gut microbiome, there is a whole new language your brain can, like new channels are open because of that brain gut connection. That's just something.
Tell us more about that.
Radar. So yeah, your gut is your second brain, and there's actually more neurons, brain cells in your gut than any other part of your peripheral nervous system. And so if you can think, like, if I have an unhealthy gut microbiome, if I have unhealthy pathogenic bacteria in there, or just not enough healthy guys, like who are your army or your orchestra, your conductors for the orchestra of your body, then of course your brain's going to feel fuzzy and foggy. You're going to struggle more with anxiety and depression, or like feel just in this loop. And then your vagus nerve as well, the nerve that governs your digestion and your autonomic nervous system, your natural processes, is directly connected from your brain to the top of your gut. And so again, if your gut is unhealthy, or you've been living in fight or flight, like it's very bidirectional. So if you've been in stressed out mode, like it also sends signals to your gut to disrupt the gut microbiome. So, most people are familiar with the brain gut connection because they've gotten butterflies before if they've ever had to do public speaking. Or if you've ever even just like felt constipated for several days and like your brain just feels like all you can think about is like wanting to go or like a little.
Totally. It's the constipation of the brain. Literally.
But just like it is a two-way street. And so like I find that when we help an individual like really figure out what's going on with their unique microbiome, and testing can help, but I also have just like at home hacks and tests, and like as simple as like, what is your poo telling you? Your poo is your daily report card. of what's going on in your gut. And then when you get the golden poo and fix the gut, that brain opens up so much more too, to be able to like process and think outside your box, or that fixation on like the food or the fitness as well.
Yeah, and I'm
So,
sure that
definitely a big
if your
connection
gut's
there.
all out of, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, even with like cravings, like you were saying, like if you ever had food cravings, like as a child, like our gut bacteria actually can govern what we eat too and tell us to crave foods. And it doesn't have to just be like Twinkies or processed food. Like I craved in my eating disorder, especially, I ate the same things every day. And so I had certain bacteria in my body, and not a lot of healthy guys, but that would tell me like, eat more, drink more Crystal Light, even though I felt super bloated and like brain foggy after drinking it. But I had to have like a pitcher a day. Or
I used to drink the crap out of that stuff too. It's so bad. Aspartame. Oh my God.
and to just like, I literally, my mom would ship me, the only thing I would eat was these frozen turkey patties from this one restaurant in my hometown. And like I would keep stocks of them, like months worth, in my freezer. And so gross thinking back at it now, like just like how aged they were, and just like how she actually would have to ship them on ice and stuff to me. But like I was so addicted to those foods because it's like really all my body knew, my gut bacteria were cueing those cues for my body. And so it's just like it's really interesting though what happens when you focus less on like the symptoms again of like, yeah, I need to eat this, or I need to get this much in. And like when we start to optimize the gut from the inside out, it's just, it opens up a new opportunity for mental health during recovery, as well as just physiological health. And just digestion alone, like, is something that I find and practice a lot of women with disordered eating are struggling with, on any end of the spectrum, whether it's like feeling bloated after meals or getting GERD. Some people even have, that have been purging, just have this overactive gag reflex where they've been purging for so long that they end up just like throwing up very easily without even trying. And that's like actually a vagus nerve response. Like your vagus nerve is way offline. And so helping people get back online and that connection again to really get back in a healthy control of their body without needing a prescription to do that, or just again a sentence that's like, well, I guess you're just always going to struggle with it. Yeah.
That makes me so sad that you hear that. And it's like a meme. Like if you have anxiety, you're going to have it. We're all free from this, but you're going to have it for the rest of your life. Or same thing with the eating disorder, same thing with the alcohol. I mean, there's so, just like you said, it's the symptomology, it's the effect of many different causes that are creating this one behavior or one symptomology or one diagnosis. And we got to get back to all the root causes, whether it be like a significant emotional event, like for you. I mean, I know that a lot of my body shame and body dysmorphia trauma came from early on events where I decided to accept certain belief systems in my life. And then because of that, there was other things. And I'm sure there was other stuff that was going on inside my gut that was causing me to crave the food. So it's like the chicken before the egg, you know. There was a lot of emotions when I was younger that also creates, if you're always angry and if you're always in a feeling of shame, then of course that's going to knock off your gut out of line too. And if you're taking antibiotics, and those are some other characteristics. I remember when we were really young that the fad back in the 80s was put soy into everything. I'm sure that knocks your gut offline.
Oh, so much so.
And I've even heard science saying that like when your gut is offline, of course, then you'll have more negative type of thinking too. So it like is prone to having more anxiety type of thoughts, sometimes suicidal thoughts. I mean, there's all these different things that are tied all together in this mesh.
Oh yeah. I mean, we are a mesh of a person, but that's where the holistic approach to healing has to be there. And
so much like what you're doing, and like the work that I do with the emotional and the mental and the spiritual, it's like that's what I'm so excited for us now as women and men. I think there's men that struggle with it as well. There's so many different options, and I love that you're doing it all in one.
Yeah, well, happy to partner and link arms with you and just get this word out, because I think like you're not alone. The people watching this or that have struggled with this or know someone that's struggling with it, it can be super siloed and super the feeling of just not talked about that much, as far as like it actually being a struggle, or that it doesn't have to be a struggle. The more I think we talk about it though, and bring awareness to it, and that there is freedom and victory in it and from it.
What is the one thing that you would say to anybody that resonates with any of these things? Something that's going on in their life. What would be something that you'd recommend that they can take away right now and start? I know that's very vague.
Like a take home, I mean, I think it would be that just like that you're not alone, like that feeling that this is something, and to not shove it under the rug either, that I think it's something that again, you don't have to struggle with forever, or like just have the thoughts about like the next meal all the time on your mind, or the guilt about like working out a little bit less yesterday, or missing your workout at all because you were getting on an airplane, and that constant feeling of something clipping at your heels, it just like is a lie. And that again, to open up and talk about it too, to like whether it is with a loved one, or friend, or like an actual professional that can help you begin to navigate those. I mean, I recently have had several clients that have reached out that like on the outside are a picture of health, whether they were like a CrossFit athlete, top of their game, or if they've even been like a model in the modeling industry or acting industry, and seemingly should have it all together or would have it all together. But then recognizing like, man, how I'm thinking about these things, like it's controlling my life, and I really want more freedom. And so to really talk about it, I think was the first step. Awareness is greatly always a first step too for change to even happen. And then a little gut love hack would be, taking a quality probiotic can be really helpful. And Deb, I'm happy to share some links with you for what quality is. 90% of probiotics do not contain probiotics they claim, but I think that can be a helpful adjunctive therapy, as well as digestive enzymes if you feel bloated around meals, for just like first optimizing gut health. And then lastly would be just the power of breath, and how like breath is a life-giving nutrient. And we can go several weeks without food, 3 days without water, but only a few moments without breath, like minutes. And so to recognize like you have a great healing and energy power physiologically and mentally for your body just through breathing. And it's an exercise I've been doing lately with folks, is just time yourself in a minute and see how many breaths you take. The ideal breathing rate in a minute for parasympathetic rest mode, not stress mode, would be 5 to 7 breaths. And that's breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And what I'm finding is people across the spectrum are breathing about 15 to 20 breaths a minute. And like, so if we're constantly in this fight or flight mode inside, like you could even be on a beach in Tahiti and still be breathing at that rate. Your body doesn't know the difference in running from a bear versus like just being stressed in your daily life. So if we're walking around in our bodies feeling that, your body feels that. And there's inflammation that's created both in your brain and your body. And so there's life-giving energy within the power of breath, and just breathing also helps us slow down and think. And so if your mind starts going about like your next workout, your next meal, to really use the power of breath to calm and like bring yourself back to center, and recognizing and asking yourself, like, what would as if mindset me do? Like, what would thriving me do? Or that girl me? And you can begin to embody her today, even if you don't feel like her.
I love it. And breath is so powerful, to just pause and, stop all the thinking, all of the behavior, the doing, and it just brings you back to in the now. And if we could all be more in the now, a lot of this stuff would actually disappear, in my opinion.
100%. Being present is huge.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. Okay. So give me all your links, because, and let's talk about, so what's next for you? I know that you're doing a launch. How can people get a hold of you, and what is that like working with you?
Yeah, totally. The best place to find me is my website, so drlauryn.com, and that's
You like put all that stuff in this, and I can add it to the actual thing.
drlauryn.com. And my contact form, from a working with me perspective, would be the best. Usually I start out with an initial consult with all new clients. I also offer a 10-minute complimentary call if that's something like they want to get to know me a little bit more. And then from my program perspective, I can share a link with you as well for that's kicking off in October, that next group for that. And it's a 12-week program. And so that will run for 12 weeks. And I have a Facebook group called Body Love Plus Food Freedom.
Okay, good. Send me the links to all those things so I can
that they can find me over on Facebook as well.
What is that like? Anybody can join? Go ahead.
Yeah, the Facebook group, anyone can join. And then the guided Body Love Plus Food Freedom starting in October. It is a 12-week course. And so it's more, we'll have weekly meetings, virtual Zoom calls, as well as you'll have weekly trainings and a body love habit and project that I give you every week in order to help you find your why and your purpose from the struggles, as well as giving you guidance and education on healing your body from the inside out.
Who is that program for? Is it from, like eating disorder to like body shame, or to just actual businesswoman that she feels like her health is out of whack? Is it a wide spectrum that it serves?
The women that it's really for are those that resonate with having struggled with disordered eating or body image negativity. Okay. It's not an I have to have a diagnosis of an eating disorder at all. It's more around disordered eating, body negativity, and it will be women from different walks of life in that. In January, I will have a more guide, like for the businesswoman that wants to optimize really like gut health, hormone health. That'll be my total gut reset program.
Ooh, I want to hear more about that too.
Yeah, totally. And
I love your poo guide. I'm all about the poop.
I love the golden poo. And so
I wonder if mine is golden. I don't think it is.
But that's okay. Well, we can optimize it. Here, I'll share this link with you right now for the program application for my Body Love Plus Food Freedom program. And there'll be more information in that link as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I think I'll have you on again eventually, because so the goal for this is I'm interviewing people that have overcome, some of these things that we've been talking about, and then like hearing their journey of success. And then I also want to do some episodes specifically on like one topic, and we could just riff about our experience about it, and then like give some really, really powerful takeaways and implementation. So,
all aboard for that.
Yeah. So, everyone stay tuned, and we will talk again after this. So
thank
you. Yeah. So is there anything else that you would love to say, or?
Yeah. I mean, I'm in it with you to win it. Like, I really do believe you were made for more. And so just to not settle for anything less than that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Love you so much. I am so inspired by you and so grateful to have you in my life. And thank you
so much. Thanks, Deb.
Absolutely. All right, ladies, we love you. And until next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like our content and you want to see more, hit the subscribe button below. We'll be posting videos every single week.
And if you want to learn more about NLP or a certification program or even performance coaching, come join us on our website at yagertraining.com, and you can find the link in the description below. We hope to see you on the next video. Thank you.